Hello, it is so nice to have my glasses on and see who's joining. Hi, Tamsin. It's so nice that you're here. I'm a little bit early. I'm kind of like overexcited about going live, so jumping on 5 minutes before scheduled time. But that's okay. We can take a little mindful moment and breathe. I need it. I need to breathe today because I have been at school with grade fours and fives, and I had woodwork for the last 2 hours of the day, and it's not my favorite kind of thing to do, but as a kind of supply teacher or relief teacher or so on, yeah, sometimes woodwork is what is on the schedule, and woodwork with grade fours, it is terrifying. I only have half the class, and Tamsin, I would much rather be with you making frogs, to be quite honest. Yep. So a few more people joining. I just said I've got Helen here. Hello, Helen. I jumped in early on the live because that's how I roll. And it's interesting, I've taken a few notes about what we're talking about today, but I'm just going to roll with it. And I did take a mindful moment on my balcony. It's been a very slow start to spring here in Finland, and having had 2 hours of woodwork with grade fours, I needed to have a mindful moment after the noise of banging, drilling, and me saying, please don't run with that in your hand, and please put the drill down before you do insert whatever. Tamsin says she's not making frogs, but trying to plan a 4-week meal planner. Yeah, that is a good thing to do. I've been doing that as well, actually, but only kind of a week ahead. Got my cooking mojo back. I lost it for a while, so that's kind of nice to hear, Tamsin. But I do love your frogs and your frogs journey, and I think I'm going to save up to adopt one of your frogs. I would really love that. Or save up to adopt it and give it to a friend in the UK. I think that might be a good thing. So I'll keep just randomly going because I did say I would. It's got another 2 minutes to the hour. Yeah, it's laughing at my woodworking. Oh, I can tell you now, it's terrifying. I only have half the class, and it is like herding cats. And it's like, put that down, no. And it's like, no, you can't drill with a screw bit. You have to change. Like, and this is all in Swedish, mind you. I'm not using the English language here. It's all in Swedish, and they, walking around with a saw, and I'm like, why is the saw on the ground? Pick up the saw, and it's kind of like they lose all focus. One girl's just randomly drilling holes in a piece of wood, and you're really just wanting to make it out alive, and that there's no blood. I don't want to have to call an ambulance, and yeah, I haven't had to yet, and I must say I have done quite a bit of woodwork. More than I would ever choose to do. I absolutely hated woodwork at school. Metalwork was different. I didn't mind metalwork, but woodwork, I don't know. I'm not very good with straight lines and sawed everything crooked and made some crooked shelves. My mum had them for a long time, bless her. But some of the things these kids take home, I'm like, it's going to go straight on the bonfire. Seriously, it's so bad. So yeah, I was just glad that there was no blood spilled. And I have to say I did let them go early because I was like, I just can't bear this anymore. And if anyone says anything, I'm just going to say, well, how about you take it? How about you take the 2 hours of woodwork with the grade fours and get back to me? Yeah, so that was it's a good mindful practice, I think. And probably a good segue into today's topic, which is you're not too emotional. Now, I chose this particular theme as my kind of gift to the world and also because it's a European Mental Health Awareness Week. That idea of being emotional is a bad thing, and I know as women, as a woman, I have been told you are to insert whatever adjective, too loud, too noisy, too bossy, too forthright, too emotional, all of those two things that we have been called over many hundreds of years to dismiss our very usually accurate and unfair, and insert a whole lot of other adjectives, feelings about the world and our experiences about the world, that we're living in this system that we haven't developed ourselves. This a system where we are stuck in this patriarchal system, and personally, I feel it's about freaking time to reimagine it. And there are some incredible Substack writers here, and I'll put them when I send this out. I can put some links into it, but it is that idea of you're not being too emotional. Now I'm going to ramble because that's kind of how I roll. But one of the things that is important and that I have learned, and that took me a long time to learn, some of the groups that I'm in, there are young women who just are so switched on and connected to themselves, and I just find that really impressive, and it gives me incredible hope for the future, because it took me a long time to understand that my body is constantly giving me feedback in the form of pain, in the form of um yeah, feelings and emotions, I guess, too, and how that affects our body, and that connection of having that feedback loop is a positive thing. If I am feeling nauseous, if I have a headache, I am a migraine sufferer. If I have a migraine, that there can be an underlying um other kind of emotional issue attached to that, and it has really helped me to understand and also work through some of the things that I have found difficult, including migraine. And, whilst I am very, very the first one to go and see a health professional, it is hard to find health professionals on the same wavelength sometimes. I've been lucky enough that I've had several in my life, but now I live in a country where I have very little access to who I would prefer to go and see. Plus, I'm in another language, which doesn't help. But I think too that whole idea of your mental health being connected with um, your emotions, it's kind of, if you haven't delved into that before, it's a really interesting portal to go down, or like an understanding. And it started with me really having just some intense experiences after my marriage collapsed, and I had a really ill child who was severely, almost died a couple of times, and so that had a huge impact on my own mental health. And I shut down. I completely shut down. So instead of being too emotional, I was in freeze. And it was a way of me coping with everything that was going on, and being in situations where it was incredibly emotional. There were a lot of incidences that happened that I look back on now and I think I just don't know how I coped, but I coped by completely shutting down. So, which is not necessarily a good thing. It helped me survive those experiences, but the fallout of it, the disconnection has required me to really dig deep and feel a lot. And the feeling of things when you're used to not feeling, it's pretty scary. I have to say that I was terrified at what I was feeling. And sometimes it was amazing. I was waking up in the middle of the night writing poetry. I just couldn't stop. It just poured out of me. Poetry literally just poured out. And it's how I ended up on Substack, actually. It just started pouring out and pouring out and pouring out, probably about 8 years ago, 8 or 9 years ago. And that was kind of as a way of me starting on I guess, improving my mental health, and developing more tools rather than shutting down. I now have ways of connecting and naming those feelings that are coming up, sitting with my emotions, even if it's uncomfortable. and feeling all of the whole spectrum um, of emotions and range of emotions, the good and the kind of uncomfortable. And that's been part of my own personal journey, where I moved country also during this time, and remarried, and have been navigating what the actual flucking fluck is going on in my life, and what am I going to do with my career, and all of those things that you probably don't expect to happen at the end of your 40s. And now I'm 50. And now it's strange, because, like, I kind of look back and I think I wasn't too emotional. I was actually just feeling. I was feeling things for the first time, and it was a beautiful thing. So sometimes when we think it feels like it's a meltdown, or it feels like it's that it's kind of like coming unraveled because you don't have answers, and you have feelings and situations that you think you feel out of control, but it's more that you are allowing yourself to open, as well. That can also, it does mean that you have large, I mean, that maybe it doesn't happen to anyone, but it is possible to have those large troughs and mountains. It's an up and down experience, and throw in perimenopause, menopause, postmenopause into that, and it can be a really intense plucking shit show. um, but ultimately, I think, as I sit here and think about that idea of not being too emotional, you are not too emotional. You are just living this incredible life with intensity and beauty and joy. And it also comes with sorrow and pain and grief. And I think about grief. I had an anniversary the other day on the 16th of May. It was 26 years since my very, very dear friend died of a brain tumor. And we were 25 when she died. And yeah, it's amazing to think that she has been gone longer now than she was with us. And the grief that you feel, I mean, you still feel that even though it's a long time ago. And the grief of your life changing. I left a workplace, and I mean, it's crazy to think that it is, wow, when did I leave? But it's over 10 years ago that I left this workplace that I absolutely loved. And it took me 7 years to kind of not feel like I wanted to lose my shit every time I thought about this workplace. It was like after the 7-year mark, I was kind of like, I think I'm okay with this. But I would dream about this school. It was a school. I loved it. I loved it so much. And so I think it's important that we acknowledge that. We're not being too emotional. We're actually honoring that we feel this huge range of feelings and emotions, that we are human beings. We're not robots. We are kind of able to use it as feedback to ourselves as well. Isn't it wisdom that we develop? We develop wisdom by listening to our emotions and honoring them. And I'm looking at my notes now, and it says grace over shame. That we kind of don't go down that shame spiral, that there's nothing to be ashamed of when we have intense emotional reactions. It's actually normal. It's more normal than shutting down. I mean, you do what you do, I guess. But the more we kind of discuss it and the more open we are about it, the more it becomes that better kind of way of being. And I think it is a more matriarchal way of being, accepting that the full gamut of feelings and emotions that we have. And I'd like to think that we reimagine the system that we're in, and that we show up in ways that are against this patriarchal system that we're in, where emotions and are bad in any man, woman, adult, child, it doesn't matter where you are in your life. Something that I've written here too is, how do your feelings speak to you when you slow down? How do your feelings speak to you when you slow down? And that is kind of a question to ask when you're feeling busy and you are perhaps filling your life with a lot of different things. That are you doing that to ignore the messages that your body is sending? And that's something to journal on, I think, too. I think journaling can be really good. You can just keep writing and asking yourself questions of, what is coming up for me, and where am I feeling it in my body, and asking your body questions, because sometimes the journaling, it can really bring up amazing answers. It certainly has for me, or it came out as poetry too, as I said before. So that's really what I wanted to talk talk to the void, talk to the incredible people who are here right now watching live. And I guess it's kind of I wanted to do this also for myself. Can I show up live in a way that can, connect me with other people? I think that's really important. I feel really strongly about creating a toolbox, creating and curating a toolbox of practices that support you through life, and that you are gaining that wisdom and that knowledge, and that you are practicing using it. Because what I have also found in my experience of life, being half a century old, is that it is about practicing in all of the messiness that life can bring us, and that you are not sitting on a mountaintop. I think I said this yesterday too, that you're not sitting on a mountaintop meditating. You can do that. Go nuts if that's for you. But that we can also find mindful moments in any situation, that we can connect with our bodies, listen to what our bodies are saying, so we can fucking flourish. Because that is, you really want this incredible beauty in your life, that in all the shit, because the shit will come. That's also part of life. Can you feel it all? Are you able to sit with those things and still find incredible moments of joy? Like yesterday, I saw a hedgehog. My life is fully complete. I know it sounds weird, but I'm still basking in the glow that I saw a real live hedgehog. Took a video. Can go back and watch it. Also, I can replay it in my head. It was like eating. So things like that, just on a normal walk. Now I'm really rambling. But yeah, a reminder, you are not too emotional. You are, in fact, an incredibly gorgeous, amazing human being who deserves the full gamut of all of the emotions in our life, and peace and love. I think that's kind of where I'm coming from. Meeting people with love. Sometimes it's difficult though. I know. I struggle too. I know some of you going, what about insert? I know there are some. But I think part of their problems stem from that they just haven't had enough love from various people in their lives. So anyway, thank you for joining me. And Kay Wood's Kitchen, that's really nice that you're on here. Don't know who you are, but thanks for joining me. You've just popped on to the end of my discussion of You're Not Too Emotional. I'm Lisa. I am the face and hands and typing and writing behind Flucking Flourishing. And I am very looking forward to seeing you tomorrow for a live, Thursday for a live, where I have a guest coming in. I'm very excited that one of my friends is going to be joining me, so that will be fun. She lives in Australia, I live in Finland, so we're crossing the planet, and I'll be joining live on Friday as well. So I look forward to perhaps seeing some of you then, depending on where the time zones fit and so on. Enjoy the rest of your day. Find a mindful moment where you can look for some joy, and just remember, you are not too emotional. It just means you're a flucking, flourishing human being. I will talk to you again soon. Ta-da!